What we understood actually from the discovery phase is that how they work is that they communicate purely through WhatsApp.
Yes.
And they say, okay, is there availability for, I don't know, on Monday next week?
The payment as well was after the lesson was completed.
There was a huge cancellation rate that we tried to decrease.
That's really the learning. We had to spend 2 extra weeks before we started building. That would have saved us and would have made things even better within the development flow. Hello everyone, my name is Aleks and this is Nicko. We're the founders of
Codelevate.
And today we're going to share with you a very exciting project, so let's jump in. Well, we need to start with the beginning of where it all started, but first tell us, how did our partners approach us?
I would start a bit from the early of 2025. In our case, it went quite smooth. So the company that reached out to us was a startup from Rotterdam. There are 2 founders, and they had a big vision of disrupting the tennis and padel industry. So they came to us with a specific problem and a challenge. What we did in the really early stage was that we always want to deep dive into actually what we are trying to solve in the beginning before we even start working. Okay. During this process, we try in the first intro call to really have the bigger vision of what we are trying to develop, what are the challenges, what is the current state, whether there is a business plan already, a product requirement document, or what is the current status of the company. The nice thing of this project was that they already did a lot of research. And this is one of the things that I think also Aleks can confirm, of course, we really ask before you even consider building something, make sure you are really did your homework. So you did a lot of research. You also know the audience, you know the problem before you even consider what is the solution.
And in their case, they were actual users as well of using this process and experiencing the problems that they were trying to solve as well.
So in that case, they could also use the platform, and they can also test and provide feedback and understand what is really the pain point problem that we want to solve.
We, of course, went through the NDAs like you explained, really talked about their idea, how they have proven if there's really problems to be solved. We identified that there indeed are a lot of opportunities, and their hypotheses were quite clear of what they're trying to achieve. So what we did is we moved to the next stage, which is a very important one to deep dive, which is our workshop.
Before we deep dive into the actual development and the delivery, what we always do when we start working as a client, with a client, is actually do potentially, if possible, in-person workshop. During this workshop, what we try to really deep dive is the following. So we start from the bigger picture of understanding the target audience. So we map out who are the main core users that we are trying to focus on. Then we try to split them into subcategories to understand what are the challenges that they have. And based on these challenges, after that, we start exploring more about the solution phase.
So, of course, within that workshop, you can imagine that a lot of conversation and a lot of information is being shared, not only on the whiteboard, but just verbally. So what we're trying to do is that we are recording the whole session, and of course after that transcribing that information, and that's one of the sources that we use when we are moving into the next stages of actually building the documentation and the production document. Yeah. That's a very sort of critical point, that it really helps us capture a lot of the flexibility when we're in a meeting.
We are problem-solving people. So we start with the problem, then we turn the problems into hypotheses, and based on that, we try to export together the possible solutions. So what we do is, like, we have a whiteboard session where we start mapping the user flows, the user journeys, and based on that, we see what are the goals for the users that we want to achieve. Everybody wants to build everything from the beginning, yes. And then you go into the trap of building a startup for, I don't know, 6 to 10 months, without actually delivering something to the users.
Yeah.
But things are changing so fast, especially nowadays with AI and the technology, that you cannot afford building 8 months without even having already some potential users that are using the
Even not
platform.
that much the timing, it's just the
And also-
complexity,
Exactly.
especially from a technical side, like building complex features, that means more maintainability, and then obviously it's way less flexible after that if you want to adjust after your users give you feedback.
Yeah, so we try to be super specific during this process to map out exactly what we want to deliver, and of course we make a roadmap plan for the upcoming months, and we can also measure how fast we go during this process, and also what we will deliver every month.
In general, in the end, is that we are gathering as much as raw information within that workshop, so we can gather all of it, because then the next step is indeed preparing this product requirement document, or in a way that it has evolved, the product requirement document has become now more of a specification driven document. So it's really all the specifications that we are having within the platform. So what we are having within that document is, first of all, the standard things of like, okay, explaining a bit about the app, what features it's going to have, really trying to put it into words, because if you don't put it into words, then it's just lost in our opinion. But also provides an opportunity to really see what we are going to develop and what is our first vision, really put into words.
Yeah, and I think, of course, this product requirement document is a livable product or
100%.
document that we continuously update.
And again, the most important thing is that we try to delete first before we actually adding things. So within that document, once we build it with the client, we have several meetings where we're trying to actually even simplify it even further.
So once we actually define the discovery phase, we start with the design phase. And during the design phase, what we always start is, of course, we set up the whole Figma environment. So we create a project. This project is from the beginning shared with our clients, who can see in real time how actually the process evolves. As a company, we also have our own design systems. And I think that's good to mention, because what we have experienced before is that if you have super fancy designs or super complicated designs, that of course impacts also the end development time. So we try to find the balance between real functionality, speed, and how we can keep consistency, but at the same time we reuse components. Instead of building something from scratch. So normally, of course, we take the design, but in this case, it was super interesting because one of the co-founders actually is also an experienced designer. They're actually from Rotterdam, so they said, okay, well, we can try do the design ourselves, but we really need your assistance during the process.
And using the design system
Yeah,
as well.
so what we did in this case is that we shared our design system with them, which is based on Tailwind CSS framework. And we have already a lot of components. We have the design system created. So they use this as a foundation. As you know, tennis and padel industry, most of the people that are working there, also the academies, but also like the teachers who are giving the lessons, they're constantly on the courts and they're constantly on the phone. So they barely use some laptops or computers. So it should be super easily usable just from your phone.
Well, we decided for the web, first of all, just because initially it's just way more flexible that we want to approach, and we can bring it to market way faster. Of course, with bringing mobile applications, there's the app stores and everything, and just a lot of more additional complexity that can come. And the users were actually already using a lot of WhatsApp and things like that, so they were more confident also with the web version.
Yeah. What we understood actually from the discovery phase is that many of these people at the moment, how they work is that they communicate purely through WhatsApp and they say, okay, is there availability for, I don't know, on Monday next week?
The payment as well was after the lesson was completed, and they sort of wanted to solve that problem that the payment is before So while you're booking the lesson, so even
Yeah.
before the lesson has started, so that actually also motivates the student more to go and not cancel their
Exactly. So there was a
lesson as well.
huge cancellation rate
Yes.
that we try to decrease for the people, and at the same time, it was also not scalable because you lose track of how many people who is coming when. So they write everything on spreadsheets, like on paper. Maybe to summarize for the design phase, what happened is that every week we have weekly calls
Yes.
where we deep dive into the user flows and we set up specific criteria of what we want to achieve. Because many people think design is only how it looks, but actually it's more about how it works so that you can make it really user friendly. From the moment you create an account, to the moment you create a lesson, to your scheduling, to payments, all these flows, how this will work. And in this case, we are building a solution not only for the tennis academies, but also for the end users who want to book lessons.
In the end, what we're trying to achieve with the design is how it will look. That's probably 20-30% of it. But it's what are the cases and what will be the flows. Because the designer and the designers work together with the engineering team. They are pretty much on the same page all the time, because each step is confirmed by an engineer how it will work and if that's really the best way to do it. I'm going to repeat that probably a lot, but it's really, the key is really deleting things.
After the third week, we already see how things are shaping and we already have enough information that we can start developing.
Yes. Key components here of the development process is that we have bi-weekly meetings. Very important, because there's always questions and things that are popping up. And we follow a very standard agile approach of 2-week sprints. We have a proven framework of how we're approaching the steps and the order of the features and how we're building them. Everything that we develop is something called infrastructure as code. What that means is that all the architecture, all the services are written within code. And what that means is that we can start an environment or actually duplicate an environment incredibly quickly. And in this case, we were able to create a very clear test environment and production environment, and very clearly separate the environments to provide a clear flow of introducing new features, but also developing the features.
So what technology stack did you actually use?
Yeah, so the technology stack that we use is AWS for hosting everything, Strapi, which is headless CMS, and then on the front end we have Next.js with Tailwind. So the development itself took approximately 3 months. After we developed, we had the soft launch, which was basically, we went through very rigorous QA process, both from their side, but also internal QAs from our side, releasing the production environment with the domains and making sure that our test environment and processes are ready for further feature development, right? So in the end, what we have is 2 types of users. We have the teachers and we have the students. Every time a teacher gets registered, they can onboard their academy, fill in their different locations, because you can have multiple courts, for example. You can invite additional teachers to your academy, and you can set up your schedule. Once you set up everything, you can create your lessons or your events, and with just a few clicks of a button, they can publish that information.
Yeah, so it's all-in-one software solution for tennis.
And very important, set up their payment. We used in this case Molly, which is a Dutch payment provider.
Yeah, this is one of the most important moments because this is your goal to really launch the end solution, right? But actually the work doesn't stop. It actually now is the beginning, because once you launch, and you already mentioned the soft launch, in this case, the startup founders, they had the opportunity to also test, provide access and give this platform to real users, so tennis academies, and collect feedback.
And only from the demos of what they showed, they already started to get a lot of feedback. And what we did is, actually, we didn't stop developing, but we started to plan and execute monthly plans to for new features. So even to this day, we are now developing new features. Every month we have a plan of what we want to, and we release monthly new things to the users based on their feedback.
Yeah, and I think that's really amazing experience of how a successful project can go from idea to final product, but also a successful startup.
Yeah.
And we can already mention, of course, that the company has onboarded their new customers in the beginning. We get a lot of positive feedback from them. And I think we are not only looking for a positive feedback, but also we look for a feedback that will help us create even a better environment for them. Because in the end, we want to evolve this solution that helps the tennis academies even more. So that's our goal, and we don't think only from development point of view, but we also think from a product market fit. We think also from a marketing point of view, and we try to help them as well of how you can go from idea stage to launch and
to this day, even last week when we were in meetings, we were again deleting things with new features. We were like saying, okay, we can definitely make this more simpler, and we can reuse a lot of the things that we have built as well.
We are towards the end of this conversation, so I really want to hear what was really the learning that you can get after you actually successfully launched this project for you.
For this specific project, and I will say also for others as well, is that founders, they're very eager to start seeing progress in the building part, right? Seeing that, okay, we're building the software. But in this case, in this specific project, we realized after a soft launch that we had to spend maybe 2 weeks extra after we finished the designs. And like we mentioned, the designs not too much for the visual, but to the flows in the process, really to challenge ourselves that do we need this feature, or do we need it in the shape that we really thought about? Because within the time frame we were designing and we were thinking about it, you're always constrained about time. And maybe some things maybe we rushed or we didn't think through too much. So that's really the learning of like, okay, we had to spend 2 extra weeks before we start building. That would have saved us and would have made things even better within the development flow.
So maybe that's super interesting to hear because, design phase is becoming a really important backbone of the project and the decisions that you're going to take at a later stage.
Exactly.
So if you are spending more time, you invest smarter solutions or decisions of how you can approach a specific problem.
100%. And it's way much easier to make adjustments on the go on that part. Well, Nicko, thank you very much for the insights. I think it was very helpful. I hope it was helpful as well for you. And thank you for watching, and see you next time.